I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to talk a second about something that I saw in the news that had to do with Black history. And apparently, there's a middle school principal by the name of Angelique Blackman, who teaches at the Howard University Middle School, who was basically accused of doing something pretty horrible. At least if you listen to the media accounts, basically she started to allegedly fire her teachers who were teaching Black history, and actually bringing their pink slips to the classroom in front of the kids and having teachers escorted out by the police. And I mean, it sounds horrible, right? And what was really shocking was that Angelique is actually a Black woman, which makes you wonder, what was she thinking? What was going on? My first thought, number one, is that we should remember that this is alleged. We do know the parents were very upset. We know that some of the kids were corroborating some of these claims, but I think it's important to wait to hear from her. She's probably freaked out. She probably didn't expect to get that kind of response. I know that just on Your Black World alone, over 100,000 people read the article, and people were commenting left and right, and people were pretty upset about what happened. My take on this is that not only should we wait to see what her explanation is, but we should also really try to see if there are any sort of bureaucratic measures in place that led her to make this decision. I mean, most of the time when there's a crazy story like that, the old teacher gets fired because he scratched his leg or something like that. Usually there's a deeper story behind that. And the thing is that we live in a world that's where social media is built on snap judgments and people read titles. That's the dumbest thing ever, but a lot of people literally will read a title and will comment on the entire article after reading the title. You got to read stuff. You can't just look at the title. The title is not going to give you all the information you need. Now, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about teaching history and stuff like that for your kids at school. Uh, you know, putting aside Angelique, and I'm hoping that she's not as ridiculous as the stories make her out to be, I think that we have to understand as parents that when it comes to Black history, don't rely on any system to teach your child how to be Black or to teach your child their history. Systems in America, for the most part, are not designed to empower Black children through education. They're not designed to give them the education they need to be fully functional, fully, completely healthy, mentally, spiritually, economically as adults. It's not built to allow them to succeed. The school system, especially the public school system, this was not a public school. It looks like this was one of those charter schools, and it was on an HBCU campus, so you kind of expect a little bit more. But even beyond that, it's still a system. Most systems in America for African Americans, including many HBCUs, are designed to produce assimilation. It's not really designed to create the best Black self that you can offer to the world. It's designed to create the best white self that you can extract from your Black self. It's designed to make you into a white man. I mean, we end up putting on the same clothes and speaking the same language, and engaging in the same professions, grabbing onto the same value systems, becoming deeply loyal to the Democratic Party, just pretty much doing a lot of the things that white people were doing long before we were ever allowed to even have our freedom. And so what I found is that this education, sometimes education isn't really education. In many cases, it's actually indoctrination. It is designed to get you to think a certain way. For example, if you look at Black history, the way it's taught in most public schools is not even scratching the surface of all the things that have occurred in American history. If you look at realistic accounts of American and Black history, because they are linked, you will see that there were quite a few just unspeakable atrocities committed by many whites with the backing of the federal government when it came to absolutely humiliating people of color. I'm talking about Black people, Mexicans, Chinese, and Native Americans especially. I think the Native Americans got screwed almost as bad as we did, maybe worse. It depends on how you look at it. But there were I want to say a couple 100,000 Native Americans, maybe more, already here in the U.S. before Americans ever arrived on the shore. So they literally just went through and just took their land. They murdered their babies. They signed treaties with them and then violated the treaty and then violated the new treaty that they made after they violated the old treaty. I mean, infected them with diseases to kill them off. They literally engaged in systematic extermination of Native American people, Black people, same thing. We know that the Black man especially, but really the black family and black people have been the target of extermination for several hundred years. We were useful to a point because we were the laborers, and they needed us, but they only needed us to have a certain role. When we decided that we wanted to be more empowered and to be free, there was a lot of resistance to that. They would literally create laws even to keep us from moving out of the state because they needed our labor. And so, what I would say to you is um, the one very simple thing: do not let a school system educate your child by itself. You can let your child go to school. You don't have to homeschool, but educate your child outside of that school system. Spend that time. You've got, and I call this extrication. Extra meaning extra in addition to, or extricate meaning to escape from something. They have to escape the indoctrination that's going to be fed to them every single day when they go to school. So that means when your child comes home from school, you've got the evenings, you've got the weekends, you've got the summertime, and every day is a good day to get more education. Every day. We live in an information-based society where people who succeed tend to be self-determined, they know how to build, and they know how to keep learning. So never ever allow any form of laziness or a lack of intellectual curiosity to be the reason that your child is being held back. This is not a society that is dominated by the passive and powerless. It's dominated by the assertive and by those who have the willpower to push forward and make their dreams into a reality. Education is a great way to do that, and also the idea of building something in the image that you visualize is something that we can do. It's not something we're taught as black people. As black people, unfortunately, we're raised and taught to respond to white people. Oh, but the white man won't do this for me, or the white man won't do that, or you know that they going to Dr. Boyce, white man do da. The white man does not control what happens to you in your life. He's there. He's a factor, but you can fight back. You can always fight back, but in order to fight back, you have to stand up. And so how you stand up is up to you. But you're never going to win a battle by sitting down. You're never going to win a battle by not being educated. You're never going to win a battle by not being self-determined. You're never going to win a battle by letting your adversary, your oppressor, to control the framework within which you respond to him. When the white man has designed the building within which you operate, or design the playing field on which you play, then the game is always going to be rigged in his favor. That's just a fact. So, unfortunately for many black people, we have been, for the most part, we've been an occupied people. We have been conquered. Okay, conquered means that you're going to be forced to assimilate. It means that every system within which you operate is going to be designed by your oppressor. So if you look at the educational system, the economic system, the prison system, all of that controlled by whites, heavily affecting blacks. Certain black people with certain black ideas are kept away from children. Because that's how you control the people. That's how the same thing they did to Native Americans. With Native Americans, when they wanted to assimilate their people, they said, we're going to focus on the children. We're going to take the children off the reservations, put them in these special schools. We're going to punish them for speaking their language. We're going to punish them for wearing ceremonial dress. If we catch you doing those Native American dances, you're going to be punished for that. We're going to teach. The best thing we can do for you is to teach you how to be a white Christian. That's pretty much what their ideology was when it came to Native Americans. That's what their ideology has been when it comes to black people. Now, I'm not telling you not to be a Christian. That's on you. I respect Christianity, but you ain't gonna see me in nobody's church, and I ain't praying for what I want to happen in this world. I'm gonna go make it happen. So that's the way I think. Maybe you think I'm a heathen. I don't care. That's just who I am. That's what I think. But I hope that we can still share ideas here. So what I would say though is, at the end of the day, these systems are never going to ever be designed to give your children the empowerment they need in order to truly be effective human beings and to really create the destiny that they want. These systems are designed to really rip the soul out of your children. These systems are designed to punish your child into a form of submission to the point where he doesn't become what he was meant to be. He doesn't become what he wants to be. He becomes what the system wants him to be. And unfortunately for young black men, what they want for most young black men, especially poor young black men in the inner cities, they want you in prison and they want you dead. And at best, maybe they want you to be a manual laborer. They want you working at the car wash. They need somebody to wash the windows. They, whatever. And even now, they don't really need that anymore, because now they have people coming from south of the border. So what I would say is, educate your own children. There's no excuse for anybody not to be able to educate their children on black history. The internet has all the information you will ever need. The greatest university in the history of the world is not Harvard, it's not Yale, it's not Spelman, it's not Howard. The greatest university in the history of the world is called Google.com. So if you're curious about something, Google it. When it comes to my kids, they ask me a question, I say Google it, Google it, Google it, Google it. That's I say it like a parakeet. They pretty much know what I'm going to say before I answer the question because I want them to get in the habit of seeking out information. It's not about what you know, it's about knowing how to know what you need to know to do what you got to do. And to give an example of how these systems are set up, we had an article on Your Black World about Oliver Howard, the man who founded Howard University. A lot of people don't know this, but he was a general in the U.S. military, and he actually played a role in helping to exterminate Native Americans and push them off their land. He killed a lot of people of color for the sake of the federal government and taking land away from people who had signed treaties and who had a right to that land. So many of these institutions that educate us that we think are doing us a favor are not doing us a favor. They're really teaching us how to live inside a cage, how to function inside a cage. And it's okay. I mean, sometimes you can find a way to cope with insanity and still walk out a halfway decent human being. And I've had to do that. I've known that stress. But I can tell you this. My life really didn't become complete until I learned how to walk out of the cage completely. When I basically said, to hell with all of you, to hell with what you think that I need to be, to hell with you treating me like I'm a criminal when I didn't do anything wrong. And now, mind you, I had a PhD. I wasn't uneducated. I wasn't out here struggling. I was actually making over $100,000 a year. But every single day I found that I was stressed out. I'm literally high blood pressure going up, heart racing, feeling all the stress that many of us feel, going into work every day, dealing with this environment that's not made for us, dealing with people who don't like us and we don't even know why, not even understanding why there's opportunities being given out and we're not getting those opportunities. Well, that's not your institution to begin with. These institutions are not designed to give you opportunities. They're designed to give opportunities to the people who had the assertiveness to build those institutions. So what I found was that I became a much happier person, a much more dignified human being when I walked away from the plantation, when I walked away from systems and began to have an opportunity to operate in my own space, develop my own infrastructure, build my own legacy, build my own business, build my own everything that I can pass down to my children. The money was better. Now the money's a lot better, but the money wasn't better at first. But there's something about that dignity that we don't really have as black people. We cannot live in a world where we as black people are waiting for our oppressor to give us our dignity. Do you understand how much of a cage that puts you in? How much of a mental slave that makes you when you're waiting for your oppressor to validate you? That is absolutely sick, and that is a losing strategy. And the last thing I'll say on that, and then I'll be done, is that to give you an idea of how ripping your history and your culture away from you really rips away at your soul. What you find is that when young people have all that ripped away from them, they don't have a sense of history. They don't know who they are, so they don't have a standard to uphold to. A lot of boys grow up in households where they don't even have a daddy around, so they don't even know what it means to even be a black man, other than what they're sucking in from the media, right? They're listening to their favorite rapper tell them what it means to be a man, so they're out here doing all this thugging and killing and womanizing and all this other crap that they're being taught through media that's created by these big white corporations that don't care about black people. So when that occurs, when that false education occurs, when that assimilation and indoctrination occurs, what you find is that we end up with these men, especially women too. I'm talking about men in particular right now. These individuals who are literally without a soul. They lose their sense of purpose because some white man told you that you were meant to be a basketball player, and you spent your whole life thinking that all you're meant to do is play basketball in front of a crowd of white people, or be a rapper in front of a crowd of white people, or be a football player in front of a crowd of white people. And when the white man takes that away from you, you have nothing. So when you have nothing and your soul's been ripped from you, a soulless person with no sense of purpose, what do they do with their life? They don't have goals. They don't have objectives. They don't really want to live because they have nothing to live for the most part. So they start slowly dying. They begin to slowly kill themselves. And how do you kill yourself? Well, you kill yourself by constantly seeking out instant gratification through maybe alcohol, drugs, maybe women, maybe worthless consumption, all these things that you're doing because your spirit has been stolen from you and you're seeking some sort of meaning out of a meaningless existence. And one thing I can say for sure, is that if you look around the world and you see people that are deeply embedded in a culture, that know their history, that know where they came from. I am of this lineage. This is the man I'm supposed to be because this is what my father was. This is what my grandfather was. This is what my great grandfather was. Those people don't have those problems because they have a sense of purpose and they have their dignity. So understand that this society is designed for black people to strip away our dignity so that eventually, when it's all stripped away and you're looking for anything, you're desperate, you're grasping for straws, so your oppressor reaches out his hand and says, "Here, boy, here's a tiny ration, here's a fraction of something that's going to make you feel like you are somebody in this world." So that's why learning the black history is important. I'm sorry, I hate the fact that this teacher fired people for teaching black history. It's atrocious. It's if she did what she did, it's crazy that she would do something like this. But at the end of the day, teach your own kids their history. Don't wait on a system. Don't wait on a teacher. Don't wait on anybody. You do it yourself. You be the architect of the future of your child, and you become the architect of your destiny, because that's the only way you can guarantee that you're going to get the destiny you deserve. Because people out here will pimp you into the ground and then spit on your grave, and that's just what America's built on. Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.